Hello and welcome to Facebook Solutions Overview presented by Chaosmap, a digital innovation company for invested startups and established businesses. And my name is Jon Rognerud. I'm the founder and creative director. Today we're going to go through a short presentation about Facebook's family of services and apps and some of the statistics of use in the marketplaces, as you'll see. So you're familiar with Facebook, obviously, the massive platform taking over the world here as we speak. But we also have Messenger, Instagram, of course, and the vast audience network. And 74% of millennials take action after being inspired by a post on Instagram, for instance. 33% of shoppers research on mobile before buying on desktop or offline. For shoppers under 34, this ratio is 1 and 2. These stats are pretty amazing when you think about it. And as you build out your digital strategies, you need to be aware of the various aspects of this and how these funnels and the sales channels work for your organization. So let's dig in a little further here. I talk about these vast networks and obviously Facebook here at 2.2 billion monthly active people. We get asked often, especially in the B2B space, are our clients on Facebook? And yes, we can confirm that. They are also on Instagram, 1 billion monthly active accounts, Messenger 1.3 billion, and of course, the audience network, as I mentioned, thousands of apps and websites out there, similar to the Google display network. So when we talk about reach and ability to find and reach out to customers and clients and patients, as well as elevating your brand in the marketplace, you have some really very strategic places to go to. So let's talk a little bit now about how you can measure the business based on advertising. That's really the focus of our organization and what we do. But there are really, at the end of the day, all of the things that you do on any of these platforms, whether it's Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Google, etc., is you want to be able to measure against KPIs, and those are your goals for your organization, whether you are an established business and want to grow faster, or if you are a startup and obviously want to grow faster as well, but since you are not necessarily proven in the marketplace, you want to be able to keep these KPIs very tight and understood within your organization. We like to say that when we are dealing with marketing and sales here, which really most of us all are dealing with online, it's psychology and math, right? So if you got the psychology right and the messaging and your positioning, your targeting, and your brand in line with your KPIs, meaning math, as in understanding that you have certain attributes or KPIs you want to reach that deal with cost per acquisition, cost of acquiring a customer, lifetime value of a customer, average order value. All of these things need to be plugged into a worksheet, which is how we do it, the profitability matrix, to be able to understand the math on this and how well your messaging is working against your targets. Now here we have the ability to dig in deep on all kinds of statistics, but the basics still apply. If you have a CPA, cost per acquisition, that's less than your AOV, you are on your way. Now, within Facebook here, we can measure across devices, channels, and publishers. We can measure real business outcomes across fragmented consumer journeys, as you'll see here. Not everybody just simply goes to a website or a page and clicks and buys, right? These, as you have known, and in your own behavior, comes from multiple trips to various devices over time. So you want to be able to measure the incremental lifts and certainly the attribution. Where can you attribute the click to in terms of that value? Was it an initial ad? Was it organic? Was it an email? And what was that final trigger point, right? So one of the things that is working tremendously well in many marketplaces are stories. There are 2.4 billion global smartphone users. 90% of images online are taken with a camera phone. That gives you an idea here. It's changed the way that the world communicates. And stories are predicted to surpass the number of feed posts in 2019. 300 million people right now using Facebook stories and Messenger stories daily, which is very interesting, right? Well, here on Instagram, people want to engage with businesses. And as with anything, if you are not on Instagram, you should definitely test it. Now, within the Facebook environment and the Ads Manager, we have the ability to target Instagram as well. But that is not to say that all businesses are necessarily going to have a home run on Instagram, right? This belongs into the category of testing, which sounds sort of temporary, but in fact, anything that you do and we do online must have testing built into the process. So 1/3 of the most viewed stories are from businesses. 50% or so of businesses on Instagram have created a story in a typical month. So there's definitely some trend lines here to be aware of. And the rise of handheld, the rise of mobile video, the rise of stories, all these things tie together in an evolutionary way on how people consume data, information, and frankly, your brand content, right? So inspiration of action, you're familiar with the traditional funnel. It starts at the top, and that's where you bring in your traffic, whether it's cold traffic, warm traffic, or hot traffic, meaning buyers. They go through a process and they convert to a lead, they convert to a sale. All these things follow a natural path here, and that's why it's very important for you to think of it as a customer journey, no matter what you do. But certainly stories have the ability to drive performance results, and you've seen stories obviously on your phone where you swipe up and you can engage at that level. Global video, of course, huge. We're seeing tremendous results with the use of video in advertising in general, and it's frankly the ability to create a storyline and messages and call to action that connect people and that resonate with people with your brand, right? So you can engage in many different ways here on the go, certainly through short sessions, unplanned, frequent discovery and connection. These are sort of more on the interruption-driven level, but once you start getting warmer with your audience, you get captivated viewing with longer sessions where it's more planned, intentional, and includes, of course, relaxation and entertainment. And so there's many different ways that people consume here, but the truth is everybody consumes at a certain pace. So somebody who is not familiar with your product, your service, or your brand may have a shorter interaction out the gate, unless you have some kind of a viral video or something. Even then, you have to make sure that that ties in with your overall content marketing strategy and marketing planning. Now, people engage with mobile videos in many ways. As I said, on the go, captivated viewing, from stories, messaging, feeds, of course, the natural interaction many of us have with those feeds, but also more captivated viewing through watching and original content. Watch Party, of course, very popular, including the new IGTV. If you're not familiar with that, that is definitely a place for you to expand and to test your content. So here's some information from Nielsen and the brand effect, that stories have 1/3 of the most viewed stories from businesses, I mentioned. Messaging, 8 billion messages sent between people and businesses monthly. The feed is huge. 65% lift in brand awareness can be delivered in the first 10 seconds. 52% of sales impact comes from less than 2 seconds of impressions through use of the feed, right? Now, in-stream video ads up to 15 seconds in length are watched to completion. 85% of ad impressions are viewable per MRC standard. All these are data points that have been vetted over time, some of them from all the way back to 2014, 2016, 15, and 17. So there's a tremendous amount of data points here that you can use to your advantage. Now, Messenger may be an underutilized aspect of your business, but we know that it's instant. We know that it's direct. We know that it's personal. The open rates on a messaging device or a messaging engagement is much higher than, say, email, right? So 80% of adults plus 90% of teens use a messaging service every day. What ties in kind of interestingly to this is that people's expectations have changed. So 64% of people would choose messaging over picking up the phone or sending email, and we are seeing that also with our businesses and the clients that we engage with. But as I've said several times through this presentation, this belongs in the category of testing and not just pushing a new tech for the sake of pushing tech, right? This gets you caught up in the shiny object syndrome, right? Now, you should test this, but you should validate it against your KPIs and your goals, right? So one of the things we like to do is set aside a test budget for this if it falls in line with the strategic blueprint that we help develop out from the onset. So messaging drives awareness, helps people discover your brand, acquire customers, of course, very, very key here. Introduce your products or services to new customers, enable transactions, seamless buying experiences and customer care. Huge again, eliminate the frustration of waiting on hold. The ability to just text out and get somebody, huge. So messaging is critical to engaging customers and growing your business, no doubt, but do test it in line with your strategic objectives. And of course here we see a screenshot, the ability to place messenger content within the messaging outline here. Here we see an example of a carousel ad that's placed within Messenger, the ability to shop now and scroll those icons and those images across the way to the right there. So Messenger for business, real results, flexibility, creativity, real people. All of this adds a strong elevation of your brand and positioning of your brand, plus the ability to service your customers at that level. So it creates presence. It allows you to message customers at scale. Frankly, those people who sign up become like an email list. So you can, again, don't like this term blast, but you can blast out to a listening audience messages and communicate efficiently with those. And then to further drive discovery, to leverage own channels. And this is exactly what I'm talking about. Own channels and advertising solutions to get discovered. Now, I'm just going to barely touch on this here, section 5, but Oculus is an up-and-coming technology, obviously has been out here for a while already. This is where we haven't really expanded a lot into for our organization. And Facebook themselves say that broad adoption of VR is years away, but consumers are excited. And 66% of people surveyed in the US believe that virtual reality will become part of everyday life. So it's interesting here, 65% of those surveyed expressed interest in using VR to view hotels and vacation destinations before booking. So here we have a tremendous new technology to elevate and to innovate and to disrupt existing industries using technology in this way. And 60% of those surveyed want to use VR to view products in a store to save themselves the trip, right? 59% of those surveyed say they want to use VR to hang out with friends and family who live far away, which is, of course, tremendously powerful. Now, we are at the end of this presentation. There is a lot more. If you'd like to learn more, just go to chaosmap.com. And we do have a free strategy session available for you as well. We look forward to serving you, to answering any of your questions, and certainly appreciate you taking time here today. And have a great day, evening, or night. Thank you.